The big meeting room on Nexus Prime was full of angry voices. Giant crystal towers reached up to the sky outside the windows. Inside, hundreds of alien leaders sat around a huge table that glowed with blue light. Emperor Vexstar stood at the head of the table. He was tall like a building and looked like a giant bug. His big eyes reflected light like mirrors. His mouth had sharp parts that could bite through metal. He was the ruler of the whole galaxy. For 300 years, his empire had controlled 847 different alien races. Every planet, every moon, every space station did what he said. No one could fight back. No one had ever won against him. But today was different. "Show me the reports again," Vexstar said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. A small blue alien pressed some buttons. Pictures appeared in the air above the table. They showed broken spaceships floating in space. Big ones, thousands of them. They were all black and twisted. "This was our 12th battle fleet," the blue alien said. 10,000 ships, all destroyed. The room got very quiet. "Who did this?" asked a green alien with 6 arms. "Humans," Vexstar said the word like it tasted bad. Many aliens started talking at once. Some laughed. Some looked scared. "Humans are dead," said a tall alien made of living rock. "We killed them all 200 years ago." "That's what we thought," Vexstar said. "But we were wrong." Far away from the meeting, Admiral Jinha stood on the bridge of his ship. The ship was called Persistence. It was not very big, it looked old, but it had special equipment that made it invisible. Jinha was a human. He had gray hair and lines on his face from many years of fighting. His eyes were dark and smart. He wore a simple blue uniform. Through his ship's special windows, he could see the battle that had just ended. Thousands of enemy ships floated like dead fish in space. Some were as big as cities. All of them were broken. "Lieutenant Harin, give me the numbers," Jinha said. Harin was a young woman with short black hair. She was very good with computers and information. She looked at her glowing screen. "Sir, we destroyed their entire fleet," she said. 10,000 enemy ships, all gone, and our losses? 17 ships, sir. But they were just mining drones. Old machines we used to dig rocks from asteroids. "No people died." Jinha smiled a little. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. The 17 human ships were still there, floating near a planet called Kepler 442b. The planet was covered in big machines that dug valuable metals from the ground. The Empire wanted those metals. But the humans got there first. The human ships looked very small next to the broken enemy ships. They looked like toys. But these 17 small ships had won, back on Nexus Prime. The alien leaders were getting more angry and scared. "How is this possible?" shouted a red alien with tentacles for arms. Humans had primitive technology, slow ships, weak weapons. "Maybe they found something," said another alien. "Some new weapon?" Emperor Vexstar's big eyes got darker. "Show them the other reports." More pictures appeared in the air. They showed 17 different planets. All of them were supposed to be empty, dead rocks floating in space. But the pictures showed something else. Cities, big, beautiful cities that covered whole continents. Space elevators that went up to the sky. Millions of lights that meant millions of people were living there. "These are the human worlds we destroyed 200 years ago," Vexstar said. "Except we didn't destroy them." The room was completely silent now. "The humans tricked us," Vexstar continued. "They made us think we won. They made us think they were all dead. But they were hiding. They were growing stronger." On his ship, Jinha received a message from Earth. Earth was the human home planet. The Empire thought they had burned it to nothing long ago, but Earth was still there. It was more beautiful than ever. The message was from the human high command. It was simple. "You may begin phase 2. Jinha nodded to Harin. She pressed some buttons on her control panel. Suddenly, all across the galaxy, every communication system received the same message. It played on every screen, every speaker, every device that could carry sound or pictures. The message showed. Jinha's face, he looked calm and peaceful, but his eyes were like steel. "This is Admiral Jinha of the Human Defense Fleet," he said. "We are speaking to all the people of the galaxy. For 200 years you were told that humans were extinct. This was a lie." The message continued, "We left your space because we wanted peace. We tried to live quietly on our own worlds. But you would not let us be, you hunted us. You tried to kill us all? You thought you succeeded?" Jinha's voice got a little harder. "You were wrong. We did not die. We did not give up. We grew stronger. We learned. We prepared." The message showed pictures of human worlds, cities that touched the clouds, ships that moved between stars like they were crossing a room, machines that could build or destroy anything. "We tried to leave in peace," Jah said. "You would not let us. Now we are back." Emperor Vexstar watched the message with growing fear. His empire controlled almost everything in the galaxy. He had billions of soldiers, millions of ships, weapons that could break planets, but he had never faced anything like this before. The humans had been hiding for 200 years. What had they been doing all that time? "Get me Admiral Thren," he ordered. "Tell him to bring every ship we have, every weapon, every soldier from every world." A small alien bowed. "How many ships, Your Majesty?" "All of them," Vexstar said. "Bring me 2 million ships. This is not just a war anymore. This is about whether the Empire lives or dies." The small alien's eyes got very big. 2 million ships was the largest fleet in the history of the galaxy. "And tell them to hurry," Vexstar added. "I have a feeling the humans are not finished surprising us." He was right. The humans were just getting started. Jinha looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Empire was getting ready for the biggest battle ever fought. They would bring everything they had. They would try to crush humanity once and for all, but they still did not understand what they were really fighting. They thought this was about territory, about resources, about who controlled what planets. They were wrong. This was about something much bigger. This was about freedom, about the right to exist, about showing the galaxy that no one, no matter how big or powerful, could make an entire species disappear. The humans had learned a lot during their 200 years of hiding. They had learned patience. They had learned to plan. Most importantly, they had learned that sometimes the best way to win a war was to make sure it was the right war. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they stopped holding back, and the Empire's worst nightmare was that this was just the beginning. Captain Ken sat in his command chair aboard the ship called Defiance. The ship was moving through a field of big rocks floating in space. Each rock was as big as a mountain. They spun slowly in the darkness between stars, but Quan's ship was special. No one could see it. The Defiance did not use normal hiding technology. Most ships tried to bend light around them or block radar signals. Quan's ship did something much stranger. It moved between different layers of reality. It was there, but also not there, like a ghost. "Target in sight, Captain," said his weapons officer. The officer was a young man named Park. He had been working with these new human technologies for only 2 years. But he was very good at his job. Through the front window, they could see their target. It was called Crimson Gate. It was not just a planet. It was a fortress. Crimson Gate was huge, red and black like dried blood. Giant metal structures covered the whole surface. Millions of aliens lived there. They built spaceships for the Empire, big ones, dangerous ones. The planet had never been attacked successfully, not once in 800 years. It had shields that could stop anything, weapons that could destroy whole fleets. An army of 10 million soldiers. Emperor Vexstar had put his best defenses there. He thought it was impossible to attack. He was wrong. "Begin deployment," Quan ordered. Park pressed a button. Nothing seemed to happen. No missiles fired. No energy beams shot out. The ship just sat there quietly among the floating rocks, but something was happening. Something the Empire could not see or understand. Tiny machines were leaving Quan's ship. Machines so small they could not be seen even with the best microscopes. They were smaller than atoms, billions of them. Trillions of them. These tiny machines flew toward Crimson Gate. They passed right through the planet's shields. The The shields were designed to stop big things like ships and missiles. They could not stop something that was smaller than the spaces between atoms, the tiny machines spread out across the planet. They went into every building, every machine, every computer system, every weapon. They did not break things. They changed. Them dot metal became weak like paper. Computer programs began to work backwards. The air systems that kept aliens alive started making poison instead. But the poison only hurt non-humans. Humans would be perfectly safe. On Crimson Gate, alarms started going off everywhere. "What's happening?" shouted General Krez. He was in charge of defending the planet. He was a big alien with 4 arms and skin like armor. He had never lost a battle. "Sir, our systems are failing," reported his aide. "The shields are down. Weapons are offline. Life support is producing toxic gases." "That's impossible. No one is attacking us." "There are no enemy ships." "Sir, I'm reading massive system failures across the entire planet. It's like our own technology is turning against us." General Krez looked at the big screen that showed space around his planet, empty, no ships, no weapons, no enemies anywhere. "How can we be under attack by nothing?" 6 hours later, Crimson Gate surrendered, the planet that had never fallen in. 800 years gave up without seeing a single enemy soldier. 10 million troops laid down their weapons. The greatest shipyard in the Empire shut down, and still, no one knew how it happened. Back on Nexus Prime, Emperor Vexstar was reading reports that made no sense. 17 more planets have gone dark, his intelligence officer reported. The officer was a thin alien with big black eyes. He looked very scared. "Gone dark? What does that mean?" "They're not responding to communication, Your Majesty." But before they stopped talking, they all sent the same message. "Show me." A hologram appeared in the air. It showed Admiral Jinha again. He looked calm and peaceful. But behind him was something that made Vexstar's heart freeze. It was Earth, but not the Earth from the Empire's records. Not the burned, dead rock they thought they had destroyed. This Earth was alive. Beautiful. Cities covered every continent. Lights sparkled like diamonds. Giant structures reached up toward space. The moon was different too. It was covered in metal. Huge weapons pointed out toward the stars. It looked like a fortress that could fight off any enemy. "People of the galaxy," Jinha said in the message, "for 200 years you were told that Earth was destroyed. As you can see, this was not true." The camera moved to show more of Earth. Massive ships were being built in orbit. Ships bigger than anything the Empire had ever seen. Ships that seemed to bend space around themselves. "We left because we wanted peace," Jinha continued. "We found new worlds, we built new cities, we learned new technologies. We grew strong." The message showed other human worlds. 17 of them, all beautiful, all full of life, all heavily defended. "But you would not leave us alone. You kept hunting us. You kept trying to finish what you started, so now we have returned." Jinha's face filled the screen. His eyes were like steel. "This is our official declaration. The Empire's time is over. We are going to free every slave world. We are going to break every chain. We are going to give freedom back to the galaxy." The message ended. Emperor Vexstar sat in silence for a long time. Finally he spoke. "How many ships do we have ready for battle?" 1.8 million, Your Majesty. "We're still building more." "And how many human ships have we actually seen?" 17, sir. The same 17 that destroyed our 12th battle fleet." Vexstar thought about this. 17 ships had beaten 10,000 of his best ships. Now they were taking his planets without even attacking them. What would happen when their real fleet arrived? "Double our ship production," he ordered. "Call in every ally, every species that owes us favors. I want 3 million ships." "Sir, that would be the largest fleet in galactic history." "I know, and it might not be enough." On the Defiance, Captain Ken received new orders from Admiral Jinha. The message was short. "Phase 2 complete. Begin Phase 3. Quan smiled. Phase 2 had been about showing the Empire that humans could strike anywhere, anytime, without being detected. They had taken 17 fortress worlds without losing a single human life. Phase 3 would be different. Phase 3 would show the galaxy what freedom looked like. Set course for the Vega sector, Quan ordered. It's time to visit the slave worlds. His ship faded away like smoke. It was going to free 10 billion aliens who had been slaves their whole lives. They would learn that humans had not forgotten them, that someone was coming to help. The Empire had spent 200 years thinking humans were extinct. They had been wrong about that. Now they were about to learn they had been wrong about everything else too. In the slave camps on 100 worlds. Aliens looked up at the stars and wondered if the stories were true. Stories about humans coming back. Stories about freedom. Soon they would know the ghosts were returning, and they were bringing justice with them. The biggest fleet in galactic history was moving toward Earth. 2 million spaceships from 847 different alien races. Some ships were as big as moons, others were fast like lightning. All of them had one goal: destroy the humans forever. Emperor Vexstar stood on the bridge of his flagship. The ship was called Eternal Dominion. It was huge. As big as Earth's moon, it had weapons that could crack planets in half. It had shields that could stop a star's explosion. Behind him flew the combined might of his empire. Ships from every corner of the galaxy. The bug-like Zentarians brought hive ships full of warrior drones. The crystal beings from Arcturus brought ships that fired pure energy. The metal robots from Sigma Draconis brought planet-killer weapons. It was beautiful and terrible. The largest war fleet ever assembled. How long until we reach Earth? Vexstar asked. 6 hours, Your Majesty, replied his navigation officer. The officer was a floating brain in a glass tank. His species was very good at calculating distances through space. And our scouts report the humans still have only 17 ships? Yes, sir. The same 17 we saw before. No reinforcements detected. Vexstar felt a cold fear in his stomach. Something was wrong. Humans were not stupid. They knew this. Fleet was coming. Why were they not running? Why were they not calling for help? Perhaps they surrender? Suggested Admiral Thren. He commanded half the fleet. He was a tall alien with green skin and 3 eyes. Perhaps they know they cannot win. No, Vexstar said. Humans do not surrender. They fight until the end. That's what makes them dangerous. When the fleet arrived at Earth's solar system, they saw exactly what the scouts had reported. 17 human ships. Small ones, they looked like toys next to the Imperial Armada. The human ships were arranged in a loose circle around Earth. The planet looked beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It did not look like a world preparing for war. This is Emperor Vexstar to all human vessels, he broadcast on all frequencies. His voice was deep and threatening. You are surrounded? You are outnumbered. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. The response came from Admiral Jinha. His voice was calm and friendly, like he was talking to an old friend. Your Majesty, thank you for coming all this way. I have a question for you. How many of your soldiers chose to be here? The question confused Vexstar. What do you mean? I mean, how many of your warriors volunteered to fight? How many chose this battle because they believed in it? Vexstar thought about this. In his empire, soldiers were conscripted, bred for war, programmed to obey. Some species had no choice at all. They fought because they were ordered to fight. I see by your silence that the answer is very few, Jinha continued. Let me tell you something about human warriors, Your Majesty. Every single one of them chose to be here. Every single one believes in what we're fighting for. You have 17 ships, Vexstar shouted. I have 2 million. Yes, Jinha said. I can see that. Very impressive. But I have another question. Have you ever fought an enemy that you couldn't see? Before Vexstar could answer, something impossible happened. The 17 human ships did not attack the Imperial fleet. They completely ignored it. Instead, they sent out a signal. It was not a weapon. It was not a threat. It was information. The signal reached every corner of the galaxy at the same time. It carried detailed plans, maps, passwords, security codes, everything needed to fight back against the Empire. On 1,000 slave worlds, the signal was received. Aliens who had been slaves their whole lives suddenly had the knowledge they needed to be free. Captain Quan was now commanding a ship that existed in 17 different dimensions at once. It looked like a simple frigate to enemy sensors. But it was really a mobile command center controlling operations across half the galaxy. "Admiral," Quan reported, "the rebellions have begun. Arctilian slave worlds are declaring independence. The Xanthari mining colonies are destroying their own chains. The Voidwalker prison planets are in full revolt." Lieutenant Harin, now promoted to commander, was monitoring intelligence from across the Empire. "Sir, we're reading massive uprisings on 400 worlds. The Empire's supply lines are completely cut off. Food shipments? Stopped. Fuel deliveries? Blocked. Reinforcement fleets? Under attack by their own former slaves?" Jinha nodded. This was the real battle. Not the 2 million ships surrounding Earth. The real fight was happening across the galaxy, and the humans were winning without firing a shot. Emperor Vexstar watched in horror as reports poured in. Half his empire was in flames. Not from human weapons, but from his own subjects rebelling. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We control everything. We have the weapons, we have the power." "Your Majesty," his intelligence officer said quietly, "it appears the humans have been in contact with our subject species for months. Maybe years. They've been teaching them how to fight back. But we monitor all communications." "Not these communications, sir. They're using quantum encrypted channels that we cannot detect. It's technology we've never seen before." "Admiral." Thren approached the Emperor. His 3 eyes were wide with fear. "Your Majesty, we're receiving surrender requests from our own commanders. Entire sectors are asking to join the rebellion." "Surrender requests from our own people?" "Yes, sir. They're saying they never wanted to serve the Empire. They only did it because they were afraid. Now they have hope." Jinha's voice came over the communications again. "Your Majesty, I want to make something clear. We didn't come here to conquer your empire. We came here to free it." "Free it from what?" Vexstar snarled. "From you." The words hit like a physical blow. For 800 years, Vexstar's family had ruled the galaxy through fear. They had convinced everyone that their way was the only way, that without the Empire there would be chaos. But now, species that had been slaves for centuries were governing themselves, making their own choices, building their own futures. And, it was working. "You want to know the difference between your empire and humanity?" Jinha continued. "Your empire rules through fear. We lead through hope. Your empire takes. We give. Your empire enslaves. We liberate." Commander Harin sent another report. "Admiral, 17 more sectors have declared independence in the last hour. The Empire now controls less than 30% of its original territory. Any resistance from Imperial forces? Very little, sir. Most are defecting to join the rebellion. Apparently, they've been waiting for someone to show them it was possible." Jinha looked out at the 2 million enemy ships surrounding Earth. They were still there, still powerful, still dangerous, but they were also trapped. Their empire was crumbling behind them. Their supply lines were cut. Their people were abandoning them. "Your Majesty," Jinha broadcast, "I'm going to give you a choice. You can stay here and watch your empire die slowly, or you can return home and try to save what's left of it. This is not over." Vexstar roared. "I still have 2 million ships." "Yes," Jinha agreed. "But what are you going to do with them? You can't go home. Your home doesn't want you anymore. You can't attack us. We haven't actually done anything to attack you. It was true. The humans had not fired a single weapon at the Imperial fleet. They had simply shown the galaxy what freedom looked like. And the galaxy had chosen freedom. Besides," Jinha added, "you haven't seen our main fleet yet." Emperor Vexstar felt his blood turn to ice. "What do you mean?" "I mean these 17 ships aren't our military, Your Majesty. They're our diplomats 6 months passed, 6 long months. The Imperial fleet stayed around Earth like hungry wolves, 2 million ships waiting, watching, but they could not attack. Every day, more of their empire fell apart behind them. Emperor Vextar stood in his command room. He had not slept in weeks. His compound eyes were red and tired. Reports kept coming in, bad reports. "Your Majesty," his aide said quietly, "we have lost the Vega sector." "How many sectors do we still control?" 43, sir. Out of the original 847, Vextar felt sick. In 6 months, he had lost 95% of his empire, and he had done it without the humans firing a single shot. The 17 human ships still orbited Earth peacefully. Sometimes they sent supply drops to refugee fleets. Sometimes they broadcast messages of hope to rebels, but they never attacked. It was driving Vextar insane. "They must be laughing." "At us?" Admiral Thren said. His green skin had turned pale. "We brought the largest fleet in history to fight 17 cargo ships." "They are not cargo ships," Vextar said. "I know that now, but what are they?" His intelligence officer, a floating brain in a glass tank, had been studying the human vessels for months. "Your Majesty, I have analyzed their energy signatures. These ships are not military vessels. They appear to be teachers." "Teachers?" "Yes, sir. Their primary systems seem designed for communication and education. They are literally teaching the galaxy how to be free." Vextar wanted to scream. He had brought planet-killer weapons. To fight against teachers? On the human flagship Persistence, Admiral Jinha was having a meeting with his senior officers. The meeting was calm and quiet, like they were planning a picnic instead of the biggest war in galactic history. "Status report on the evacuation," Jinha said. Captain Quan consulted his dimensional display. His ship could now see across 17 different realities at once. "All civilian populations have been moved to safe zones, sir. The refugee camps are fully supplied. Medical care is available for all species." "Good, Commander Harin. What about the rebel coordination?" Harin smiled. She was now in charge of the largest intelligence network in galactic history. "Sir, 804 worlds have declared independence. They are forming their own democratic governments. So far, only 12 conflicts between rebel groups. We mediated all of them successfully." "Excellent. And our fleet status?" Both officers looked at each other and grinned. "The fleet is ready, sir," Quan said. "All 50,000 vessels are in position." Jinha nodded. For 6 months they had been patient. They had let the Empire destroy itself through its own cruelty and fear, but now it was time to end this. "Open a channel to Emperor Vextar," Jinha ordered. On the Imperial flagship, Vextar was surprised to receive a communication from the humans. For months, they had ignored his threats and demands. "Your Majesty," Jinha said, appearing on the main screen. "Thank you for your patience. We needed time to evacuate all the civilians from the war zone." "What civilians? What war zone?" "The civilians from the path of our fleet, Your Majesty. We don't like innocent people getting hurt when we fight." Vextar felt confused. "Your fleet? You have 17 ships?" Jinha smiled. It was a kind smile, but it made Vextar's blood freeze. "Your Majesty, I think there has been a misunderstanding. The 17 ships are not our fleet. They are our diplomatic corps. Our real fleet has been waiting for the evacuation to finish." "Where is your real fleet?" Vextar demanded. "They should be arriving right about now." Vextar ordered his sensors to scan the area around Earth. They found nothing. Empty space, no ships, no energy signatures, nothing. "I don't see any fleet," he said. "Look harder," Jinha suggested. The Imperial sensors swept the entire solar system, still nothing. Then they expanded their search, still nothing. "There is no fleet?" Vextar shouted. "Your Majesty," his sensor officer said in a small voice, "we're detecting something strange." "What kind of strange?" "Space itself is changing, sir. The fabric of reality is donding." Then it happened. Space began to fold like paper. Stars seemed to move. The darkness between planets started to glow. Reality itself was being twisted into new shapes, and from that twisted space the human fleet emerged. But these were not ships like anything the Empire had ever seen. They were not made of metal and electronics. They were made of light and energy and pure force. Some ships phased between existing and not existing. Others used small black holes as engines. Some seemed to be built from compressed starlight. A few appeared to be made of living mathematics. Captain Quan now commanded a dreadnought that looked like a simple frigate to enemy sensors. But inside, it contained the population of a small moon. The ship existed in so many dimensions that counting them was impossible. "Admiral," Quan reported, "fleet deployment complete. All 50,000 vessels operational and ready." Commander Haran was monitoring the Imperial fleet's reaction. "Sir, enemy forces are attempting to retreat, but our dimensional anchors have locked down all hyperspace in a 50-light-year radius. They can't escape." Jinha studied the tactical display. 2 million enemy ships, all of them trapped. All of them helpless before humanity's true power. For 800 years, these beings had enslaved the galaxy. They had destroyed countless civilizations. They had turned entire species into slaves. They had hunted humans across the stars and tried to wipe them out completely. Now they were at his mercy. "Open a channel to all Imperial forces," Jinha commanded. His voice reached every ship in the enemy fleet. 2 million vessels. Billions of alien soldiers. All of them suddenly understanding how small and helpless they were. "This is Admiral Jinha of the Human Defense Fleet," he said calmly. "You have invaded our solar system with hostile intent. You have spent 6 months threatening our world and our people. The Imperial fleet tried to power up their weapons. Nothing happened. Their targeting systems could not lock onto the human ships. Their weapons could not penetrate whatever technology the humans were using. However," Jinha continued, "we are not like you. We do not enjoy causing suffering. So I am going to give you one chance." Emperor Vexstar listened with growing terror. "You have 30 minutes to power down all weapons and prepare for boarding. Any ship that surrenders will be treated according to the laws of war. Your crews will be safe. Your wounded will be treated. Your people will be allowed to return home." Jinha's voice became harder. "Any ship that chooses to fight will be removed from existence, not destroyed. Not damaged, simply ... removed, as if it never existed at all." To prove his point, one human ship approached an Imperial destroyer that was still charging its weapons. The human ship did not fire. It did not explode. The enemy vessel. The enemy ship simply stopped being there. One moment it existed. The next moment there was nothing, not wreckage, not debris, not even empty space where it had been. The universe itself seemed to forget the ship had ever existed. 29 minutes remaining, Jinha announced. Emperor Vexstar looked around his bridge. His officers were all staring at him, waiting for orders, waiting for him to decide whether they lived or died. For 800 years, his empire had ruled through fear and force. Now he was facing beings who could unmake reality itself. "Power down all weapons," he whispered. "Sir, power down all weapons," he shouted. "Signal full surrender to the human fleet." Across the Imperial Armada, 2 million ships went dark. Their weapons powered down, their shields dropped. They sat in space like helpless children, waiting to see if the humans would keep their word. 28 minutes and 30 seconds after Jinha's ultimatum, the last Imperial vessel powered down its weapons. Not a single ship chose to fight. 1 year later, the galaxy looked completely different. The crystal towers of Nexus Prime still reached toward the sky, but now they were filled with different voices. Instead of Emperor Vexstar giving orders, there were representatives from 847 different species talking together, making decisions together, working together. The Great Assembly Hall was huge. It could hold 10,000 beings. Today it was full. Aliens of every shape and size sat in comfortable seats. Some breathed air, some breathed methane. Some didn't. breathe at all, but they all had voices, they all had votes. Admiral Jinha stood at the center of the hall. He wore a simple blue uniform, no fancy medals, no crown, no symbols of power. Just a human who had helped change the galaxy. The beings around him had voted to call him Galactic Coordinator. He had not asked for the title, he had not wanted it. But every single species had voted for him, even the former enemies. "Many of you have asked me a question," Jinha began. His voice was calm and carried easily through the hall. "You want to know why we left? Why humanity chose to hide instead of fight? Why we gave up our place in the galaxy?" He gestured to a hologram that appeared above the assembly. It showed Earth as it had been long ago, blue oceans, green forests, white clouds, beautiful and peaceful. We left because we learned something important from our history, something our ancestors taught us through their mistakes. Power without wisdom is dangerous. Strength without kindness leads to cruelty. The hologram changed to show images of human history, wars, destruction, suffering, times when humans had hurt other humans. "We humans have not always been good," Jinha said honestly. "We fought wars among ourselves. We enslaved our own people. We nearly destroyed our own planet. We learned that having the power to hurt someone doesn't mean you should use it." An alien in the audience stood up. It was Counselor Vextar, the former emperor. His title was gone, but he was still allowed to speak, still allowed to participate. The humans had insisted on this. "Coordinator Jinha," Vextar said. His voice was different now, quieter, more thoughtful. "Your people could have destroyed us all. You had the power. Why did you choose mercy?" It was a good question. Everyone in the hall wanted to hear the answer. Jinha smiled. "Because destroying you would not have made the galaxy better. It would have just made us the new tyrants. We didn't come back to replace your empire with our own. We came back to make sure no one would ever need an empire again." Captain Quan was now Admiral Quan. He commanded the Dimensional Defense Fleet. His ships patrolled not just normal space, but the barriers between different realities. He made sure that no species would ever again face extinction. His flagship, Defiance, could now exist in 100 dimensions at once. It could be in many places at the same time. It could protect entire star systems with just one ship. But most days, Quan used his incredible ship for peaceful work, delivering supplies to new colonies, helping species explore distant galaxies, teaching young aliens how the new technology worked. "Status report, Admiral," Jinha asked during their weekly meeting. "All quiet, sir," Quan replied. "No conflicts anywhere in the galaxy. The Mediation Council resolved 3 disputes this week. All parties were satisfied with the solutions. Commander Harin was now in charge of the Galactic Information Network. It was the opposite of the old Imperial spy system. Instead of hiding information, it shared everything freely. Any species could access the knowledge of all other species. Scientific developments?" Jinha asked her. "Incredible progress, sir," Harin reported with excitement. "The crystalline beings and the metal robots are working together on new propulsion systems. The Aquatic Federation is sharing their biological healing techniques. We've had more scientific advances in 1 year than the Empire had in a century. Why do you think that is?" "Because people are working together instead of competing, sir. When everyone shares knowledge, everyone gets smarter faster," Jinha nodded. This was exactly what he had hoped would happen. In the assembly hall, the daily session was ending. But before everyone left, a small alien approached the podium. It was one of the former slaves from the mining worlds. Its species had been enslaved for so long that most people forgot they could think and speak. "I want to say something," the alien said in a tiny voice. The hall went quiet. Everyone listened. "My people were slaves for 800 years, the alien continued. "We worked in dark mines. We never saw the sun. We thought we would die as slaves. Our children would die as slaves. Our children's children would die as slaves?" The alien looked up at Jinha. Its eyes were full of tears. "But now my daughter goes to school with the children of former masters. She learns mathematics and art and history. She dreams of becoming a starship pilot. She dreams of seeing other worlds. The alien's voice got stronger. You didn't just free our bodies, you freed our dreams. The hall erupted in applause. Beings from hundreds of species stood up and clapped. Even Vexstar was clapping. Later, Jinha walked through the gardens outside the assembly hall. The gardens were new, built by volunteers from 50 different species. Plants and flowers from 1,000 worlds grew together in beautiful harmony. He was not alone. Vexstar walked beside him. The former emperor looked older now, tired, but also more peaceful than he had ever been. I have been thinking about what you said, Vexstar told him. About power and wisdom. Oh? I ruled through fear for 800 years. I thought it made me strong. But I was afraid every single day. Afraid someone would challenge me. Afraid someone would be stronger than me. Afraid I would lose everything. Vexstar stopped walking and looked at the mixed gardens around them. But you are not afraid, are you? He asked Jinha. Of course I'm afraid, Jinha replied. I'm terrified that we'll make mistakes, that we'll hurt someone by accident, that will become the very thing we fought against. Then how do you lead without fear controlling you? Jinha pointed to a group of young aliens playing together near a fountain. They were from 6 different species. Some had scales, some had fur, some had metal skin, but they were all laughing together. I remember why we're doing this, Jinha said. Not for power, not for glory. For them, so they can grow up free. That evening, the assembly passed its most important law yet. It was called the Freedom Declaration. It said that no being anywhere in the galaxy could be enslaved. No species could be wiped out. No world could be conquered. But the most important part of the law was the last sentence. Any species that tries to build a new empire will face the united response of all free peoples. 6 months later, the first exploration fleet left the galaxy. It contained ships from 200 species. They were going to find new galaxies, new worlds, new friends. They carried with them the most important lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. The strongest fire is not the one that burns others down, but the one that lights the way forward for everyone. Emperor Vexstar had once ruled 847 species through fear and force. Now those same 847 species ruled themselves through hope and cooperation. And in the depths of space, human ships continued their eternal patrol. Not as conquerors, but as guardians, making sure that freedom, once won, would never be lost again. The galaxy had forgotten humanity's name for 200 years. Now it would remember humanity's gift forever, the fire that turned survivors into builders of impossible dreams among the stars.